Well, good morning, and welcome to the class of 50 years ago, 1962, 25 years and 10-year class reunion, classes of Jesuit High School, New Orleans. It is my honor to address you today about what it means to be named your 2012 Alumnus of the Year. You and I share the Jesuit insight of what it means to be men for others. That phrase has packed a powerful punch for me and surely for you. This institution, the Jesuits, and the Jesuit tradition of developing leaders who extend themselves for others, that has distinguished us. Before I go too deeply into that, let me recognize members of my family and invited guests. There are my wife Alva, my good mother and father, sisters and brother-in-laws, sons and daughter-in-laws, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, aunts, and close friends. Thank you for being here to share in this honor. And to my friends, you have known for many years what Jesuit High means to me. Like the United States Marine that I have always been proud to be, I am equally proud to call myself a fighting Blue Jay. I have learned courage, honor, fortitude, perseverance, and prudence from the Jesuits. They too are among the few and the proud, always faithful to their tradition and mission, Semper Fi. From high school through college, the Jesuits shaped my character. They sent me out as a Christian soldier. Go forth and set the world on fire. The Jesuits are soldiers for Christ. I like that they walk the talk and they lead by example. They lead through the power of the intellect, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, the life of the mind. After completing Jesuit High, Loyola, and Columbia universities, I entered the United States Marine Corps and desired to set the world on fire. I was fortunate that I did not have to go to war. The Vietnam War was a painful experience for our country. The United States of America has gone through many painful experiences. Many of you in the audience lived through earlier painful experiences. Here are just a few. For the class of 1962, you have lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis and the dawning of civil rights in America. Both were uneasy experiences for you. Those times were uneasy experiences for me as well. My family, and surely yours, prayed the rosary all the time. You and I had a choice on what side we should stand, on the side of freedom and integration, or on the side of segregation, fear, and limitations on freedom. In 1962, James Meredith was escorted by federal marshals to register at the University of Mississippi. The very next year, my dad brought me through the big brown doors of Jesuit High. Thank you, Dad. Class of 1962, your parents sent you to Jesuit High. I stood alongside of you as a living example of social change. Neither you nor I was afraid. In truth, I was not afraid because my dad taught me to fear nothing, and I still try to do that. Admittedly, however, there was nothing to fear here at Jesuit High School. Your parents, like mine, have taught you well, and they were here with you. And thank you when you see them, if they're still alive, and I pray that many are. Thank them for me. Those were challenging times. Even the Catholic Church was changing. John Paul XXIII was advocating the teachings of the Second Vatican Council. However, the Jesuits were steadfast. True to tradition, the Jesuits taught, be a man for others. That means be tolerant, accept change, as long as the change to be implemented is good for others and done for the greater honor and glory of God. Still, back then in 1962, I, all 5'3" and 90 pounds of me, was determined to be tough, and not knowing how the big upperclassmen at Jesuit would treat me, I didn't know what to expect. You did not know it, this class and others that followed you, but I looked up to you. I wanted to become you. I wanted to become just like you. I admired Mike Nolan, Ashton Ryan Jr., Arthur Mann, Jim Amos, Ray Rabelais, Walter Stewart, Mike Crow, Jerry Zerang, Barry Faust, and many other upper Blue Jays, class Blue Jays, too numerous to mention. I became determined to be like them, to be a man for others. For the class of 1967, my friends and fellow graduates of that year, thank you for being my friend. I know it was not easy for you. Lester Maddox, a segregationist, was sworn in as governor of Georgia that year, and you stood firmly with me and other blacks then at Jesuit as friends. To the class of 1967, Leo Lay, Barry, Frank Barry, and others that I know are here, I will always be there for each and every one of you. For the class of 1987, Michael Jackson was out and about singing Bad. Michael Eisner was bringing Disneyland to Paris. Ronald Reagan was nominating Robert Bork for the United States Supreme Court. The stock market was going through a terrible October crash, and lesbian and gay rights activists were expressing themselves in the first National Coming Out Days march on Washington, D.C. Perhaps you experienced as much change as we did in the 1960s. Still, you too held fast and steadfast to the Jesuit tradition and became men for others. Class of 1987, you continue to lead, and you continue to lead our way to a bright future. For the class of 2002, you are the sons of the 60s. What you inherited is the society we brought to you. Hopefully you have found it to be less racist, more caring and compassionate, and more likely to judge one another on the merits. You have graduated 10 years ago, and now you are at the forefront of the charge. I am retiring. I follow you. You will make the biggest difference in all of our futures. Go out in the true Jesuit tradition. Set the world on fire with your prudent decision-making. I, for one, do not feel that I have anything to worry about. Just recently, at the New Orleans Museum of Art, I heard Father Fitzgerald give an address to the funders of Jesuit High. Of course, he wanted attendees to know that the Jesuit High they knew and loved when they attended is still that Jesuit High today. Father Fitzgerald, I felt your passion. In the face of dynamic technological, social, and global changes, Jesuit High holds firmly to its teachings. You, Father, set the tone at the top. From your position of leadership, through the principal to the baseball coach who had just shepherded the Blue Jays to a national championship, I felt the same pride of being called a Blue Jay as I did when I first entered through those tall doors on Carrollton and Banks. Sitting in the NOMA auditorium was my son, Edgar Chase IV. We call him Dook, a Jesuit graduate, and he was there to hear the words of the baseball coach, those inspiring words about what he tells his baseball players as they win the national championship. They asked him, "Am I the best team ever? Am I, Coach, the best team ever that you ever coached?" And he says, "Well, I'll have to see 10 years from now what you do with your lives as to whether you are the best baseball team that I ever coached." Now I know that Dook, as we call our youngest Edgar, will live his life as a man for others. And I know that my son Trevor, although he was not there, will allow his son Trevor Jr. to walk through the doors of Carrollton and Banks. My grandfather's wish, my grandfather's wish, is that Trevor Jr. will walk through the doors and become a young man determined to build his character and his self-identity as a man for others. Now, I have been blessed in many ways. I have twin sons, Trevor and Travis. The twins chose to go to St. Augustine High School over Jesuit High School. I did not force their choice to coincide with mine. We all know of rivalries, whether it's Brother Martin, St. Augustine, Holy Cross, Rummel, Shaw, Newman, McDonald 35, or another high school. We all know outstanding leaders who have graduated from those schools. God did not create excellence as something to be limited. I'm just saying that Jesuit High had a special calling for me. And I'm happy that I chose to walk through the doors of Jesuit High. Jesuit High changed my life. I want to thank all the teachers and administrators who taught me at Jesuit High. I know a few are here and still involved in this outstanding institution. Father O'Neill, Mr. Frederick, my Spanish teacher, Brother Daughters, to all involved in Jesuit High, thanks for shaping our lives. As our first grandchild, Caitlin, says, we all have choices. However, it's the choice we make that forever binds. How we relate to our choice in a loving, trusting, caring, and forgiving way keeps us united. We stand joined together through thick and thin as one united family, because that is who we are. That is our choice. That is our identity. I am joined to you and you to me, and I'm proud to call myself a Jesuit High Blue Jay. In closing, I'm here to say to anyone who reads or hears this address that Jesuit High is among the best choices of an all-male high school in metropolitan New Orleans. If you want your son to be a man for others, make sure that he enrolls in the 8th or 9th grade at Jesuit High. You will not be disappointed. Thank you very much.